Jessica Boswell is the team leader of the J. Boswell team in Connecticut, and she has overseen probably more than what I'm about to say, overseen over 486 sales. She and her team are known for their local market expertise. They are very client focused and they have a very strong marketing strategy. Jessica and her team consistently deliver exceptional results for her clients, and you can see that if you just search anything about the J. Boswell team online. Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing with me and with everyone else a little bit about your real estate journey.
Yeah,
To start off a little bit about our conversation, could you share how you originally joined the real estate industry?
yeah, certainly. It's really funny. I've been doing lots of podcasts lately, and they all ask this. And I mean, I've been giving pretty much the same response. So I was a scientist prior to becoming a real estate agent. And my husband and I moved from Connecticut to St. Louis for his work. He does environmental consulting, and he was cleaning up a brownfield site for um, Carl Icahn. And we had our first child there. And after being home with him for a little while, I did attempt to re-enter the science workforce. I mean, I wasn't crazy about it, but I was just like, I want to get back to work. Let's see. And my resume was essentially ignored because of the time that I had spent home with my son. I said, I got to do something. And the architecture is really stunning here, which it is, and in St. Louis. And I think I would like to show houses. Like they're pretty. And I'm a mom, so I'll have a flexible schedule. And so I joined the number one team in St. Louis at the time as a listing agent because I'm kind of an overachiever. And that's how it all started. I went from listing agent in St. Louis on a team to listing agent on a team back home in Connecticut when we moved back home. And then after maybe a year of that, starting my own team. So it all happened really quickly.
Yeah, that's quite rare to hear of an agent joining a team as a listing agent initially rather than a buyer agent. Were you specifically seeking out being a listing agent when you started out?
No, I came to the team leader and said, I want to be a buyer's agent. And at the time with that brand, they did all of those like crazy profiles and tests and all that stuff. And she said, nope, you're my seller's agent. You're my listing agent. And I was like, are you sure? I have like literally no experience, and I'm pretty introverted. And she said, no, like you're doing it. And so I did, and just push myself way the heck outside of my comfort zone. Like, I told myself if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And I committed, and I learned an unbelievable amount from her. She was the best mentor ever.
Yeah, yeah, I loved hearing your story at Conversion Con. I am curious, do we have like I think they posted the recording. I need to make sure to grab the recording and share it under this video in the description.
Sure. I mean, that would be great. I'll ask permission to share it. I'll
Yeah,
ask permission to share it. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So whenever you joined that team initially in St. Louis, do you remember where you received your first transaction from?
Yeah, it was a for sale by owner that I called during one of their famous trainings. And their house was located right outside one of the most famous parks in the city. And I remember it was a little like a craftsman with leaded stained glass. And anyhow, my heart was thumping, thumping, making the phone call. But I had a really great call. Like I was embarrassed to do it in front of people, so I went out to my car and did my calling. But it was a great call, and that was my very first lead.
That's awesome. That's also a very rare, two double whammy rares there with being a listing agent and then your first transaction being a for sale by owner.
Yeah.
What do you think like caused your ability to convert that for sale by owner? Because that can be one of the trickiest sales, especially being a brand new agent. Was
Yeah.
it just the type of person you were talking with, or was it the way you approached the conversation that allowed you to take on that listing?
I mean, it was definitely a combination. I was able to, the person was friendly. They weren't super standoffish. But in addition to that, though, like I had put significant time into practicing scripts. And we did a bunch of scripting ahead of that session of calls. So I just think being prepared, like anything, you're going to have a better result, right? Like luck plus preparation equals success.
Yeah, absolutely. So fast forward from St. Louis to now today, you have your own team. What does the current structure of your team look like today?
Sure. So today I have four virtual assistants. I have one marketing manager that is domestic. He's also our photographer and videographer. And I have soon to be 23 agents on the team.
Wow. And where did you find your virtual assistants?
Sphere Rocket. I was lucky enough to find them via Sphere Rocket, and then some of the VAs at Sphere Rocket then made other connections, and that connection brought me JM, who is my executive admin and transaction coordinator. She operates at such a high level, like higher than a lot of like the domestic admins that I had worked with prior. I went through three domestic admins and they just didn't work out, like whether it was their work ethic or their understanding of the industry or their trainability, it just didn't work out. And then when JM came to me, like it was such a blessing. She's like, I wish I could bring her stateside. She's phenomenal. And then her sister is our listing manager, Jinky. And then we have a lead manager also that, goes through our database daily, making sure that agents are doing what they need to do and that they're not missing any opportunities. And we have a marketing associate to help our marketing manager. I should also mention that we're using DCM, which is a virtual ISA as well. So they're a really important part of my bench, so to say.
Yeah, and DCM, they mainly do the texting, right? They don't do calling, or do they do both?
They do texting and email. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And then the 20 agents on your team, did you go out proactively to recruit them, or did they come to you?
There's a combination. So I would say that at least half of the agents came to me from maybe some posts that I had been doing, or they had worked with me in the past, or some of them were even clients of mine, which is a really great place to get agents. And the other were actively recruited. The other half were actively recruited.
And with that structure of the 20 agents, are you actively training them and they're following your procedures, or are they more sort of like independently operating agents?
Oh my gosh. I think when we first started, they were it was a very loose training and they were quite independent, and it created a product that was not something that I was proud of. And so I took over training, really took the bull by the horns. JM and I developed some beautiful, like, buyer training modules and seller training modules. And I do, in fact, deliver them myself. 2 weeks out of each month, like I'm there in the afternoon giving my own training. I've really transitioned from like working with clients to putting all of my focus on growing the business, training new agents, and nurturing the agents that I have. That's been probably one of my biggest shifts this year, was away from production and into making sure that my team is growing and being taken care of.
Are you fully out of production now?
Yeah, I think I'll have like a handful for this year. I really do feel like, it's previous clients that are coming to me that want to sell. I think are likely the only transactions that I'll take this year. I provide so many leads for the team, and I just want them to be able to profit from them. Yeah.
Yeah, on the topic of leads, I loved the graphic you shared, and I know that you do a lot of research when you implement any technology. Would you be open to sharing what leads you provide to your team to feed them business?
Yeah, and happily. I mean, it's something like 20 different lead sources. I really love Robert Slack's model. I think it's super great. And so it's, all of the heavy hitters that we're familiar with, like Zillow and Realtor.com. I'm giving Market VIP a whirl. We're actually starting up this month. In addition to all of the third-party aggregators that, a lot of people have heard of, like Upnest and Homelight and Fast Expert and places like that. And a lot of those are because as a solo, I had worked up such a great reputation from previous sales with those third-party aggregators that they were then like sending me lots and lots and lots and lots of leads. And now I can like pass seller, like solid hand raising seller leads off to my agents, which I think is so important. I don't believe in pigeonholing an agent into like, you have to work with buyers first until and then you can work with sellers, since I did it right off the bat. If somebody can convert sellers and they enjoy it, like have at it. That's a talent that not many people have. And then, with my training and agents on the team that provide mentorship, like there's always somebody that's there to help people convert sellers. Whether or not they stay with sellers is a different story, right? Maybe some people decide after a while that that's not their thing and it doesn't bring them joy, right? And then, other agents are like, I love the freedom it gives me. I'm not running around with buyers all the time, and they stick with them. So having like that, a really solid array of leads also creates, I believe, stability, right? Like in case one lead source, you know, decides to drop out or decides to completely change their model or whatever. I think it's important to have all of those backups in place too.
And I know, coming from your scientist background, you probably do a lot of research and analytics around those lead sources to make sure that the ones that you have implemented are the ones you want to keep. Have you done a recent, any sort of recent research on the current lead sources and which ones are, so to say, like the best or the highest producing lead sources for your team?
Sure. I mean, historically, we've had the most luck with Solo and Upnest. Um, and I don't, luck is the wrong word. They've been the most consistently converted. Now, since the team is still a baby team, this is essentially only our second year. And, my second year of leadership and we're still like tweaking training and all of that. I don't, yes, I've looked at conversion ratios, but as we say in the industry, like the leads don't suck, we suck. So until I've perfected absolutely every part of my training program and gotten agents that, have stayed with the team long term, like I think that the environmental variables that affect conversion rates just aren't consistent enough for me to say, okay, like this lead source is better than this lead, there are those two that stand out among all of them, but as a solo, I was able to convert at a really high level. Almost all of the lead sources, about 20% for all of those lead aggregator hand raisers. So if I
Right.
raised a team of mini Jesses, then we would be converting at that ratio. But yeah, we're always perfecting the process. I think it's a good idea to give a lead source at least a year to
Mm.
see whether or not it's performing. If we're getting absolutely nobody answering the phone, or like lots of people are angry, and nobody's engaging with our conversion tools like Real Scout or Fellow, fine, then there's a problem. But if it's just a matter of, my agents are getting on the phone with them but not able to hold a conversation, or they're holding a conversation but not able to set an appointment, or they set an appointment but not able to convert, then that's a different story that we're continually looking into and tweaking, and also leaning on Reside to kind of help us perfect as well.
Yeah. So you've mentioned DCM, Fellow, Real Scout, and Reside. Would you be open to sharing sort of what technology you use to help support your team members and your staff, like your CRM, your main website provider, and any other technology you may or may not have mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. So Follow Up Boss is our CRM. And then of course within Follow Up Boss, we've used Twilio, SendGrid, Texting Betty, of course, all of your action plans and automations, which have played a critical part in our success. Absolutely critical. And you guys are so responsive when I ask for changes or with the new rules and regulations. We use Slack for communication. We use Monday for organizing all of our processes, from contract to close, or, our white glove listing and buyer services, onboarding, training, all of that. Let me think what else. I mean, of course, all of the usuals like Zoom and Calendly are really great. Like anything that we can get at low cost. Loom is another one, which I know that you use a lot. Um, yeah, I mean, those are probably the big ones. And then yeah, so for lead conversion, we're using Real Scout, we're using Fellow, for VAs using Sphere Rocket. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Like I've tried lots and lots and lots of
Hmm.
different tech. It's fun for me to mess around with all that.
Yeah. So how did you decide to start using Follow Boss as your main CRM?
Um, I was using another CRM that was pretty clunky. And I was super resistant to changing though, right? Because I was comfortable with it. But a lot of the team leaders that I respect very much were using it. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And when I saw just how streamlined and simple it was and how it integrated with just about everything, like, then I was like, why did I wait so long? Oh, and Sierra is the provider that I use for my website. So, I mean, I just love how, oh, and we use, sorry, and we use Easy Verify, to look up do not call and things like that. So, and I'm just thinking about like the way that a client's file looks in FUB right now. So I'm thinking, okay, we've got Easy Verify and you can see what they're doing on Fellow and you can see everything they're looking at in Zillow and you can see all the houses they're looking at on Real Scout. And I mean, just being able to have all of those different options and filters and smart lists and action plans. It's like, I could get involved in all of that for like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, just like tweaking things and making pawns and setting up lists. Like it's my jam. That is how my brain functions. The compartmentalization and figuring out how to make processes as efficient and effective as possible. Like I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you start using Follow Boss when you were a solo agent, or did you wait till you started your team?
I waited, but very, very early on in that process as a team, I picked it up. And Reside does provide follow-up boss for us, which was a great perk when I signed up for it. I said, oh, that's awesome. That's included. No brainer.
Hmm. And then, how did you and I, or you and Key Technology, get connected originally? Do you happen to remember?
I want to say like, let's see. I mean, it was definitely on social media. That was for sure. And I don't know if I saw. Wait a minute. No, you referred me to Texting Betty. You referred me to Alex Shakoff. By the way, like really, like he is one of the best connections ever. But as far as you and I think like I saw you comment on posts in like the FUB community or another community, and I reached out to you. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I think I've bought like every single action plan you have, like Spanish speaking action plans, investor action plan, luxury action plan, land action plan. And then, and then you also, yeah, because this was like before, this was really like starting off, and I had heard that you could set up FUB for success. And so I said, all right, I want that. And then, did all the action plans, you set up my smart lists, like all of that stuff. And it was it was like a great beginning. I've since tweaked stuff as everybody does to help things fit their specific team. But yeah, it's just been like such a great value add, really great value add.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing. And how long has it been since you implemented the first round of the setup?
Oh my gosh. So 2023, the beginning of 2023 was when you and I met. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
it's
it's been
about
2 years.
yeah
Yeah.
2 years. I was about to
It
say a
feels
year
like
and
a
a
few
half, but
months.
yeah, not 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what is it like with the agents on your team in the adoption? Are they using Follow Up Boss as well with the automations and the smart lists? What does that look like for them?
Yeah, follow-up boss is a must. We say that if it doesn't happen in Follow Up Boss, it didn't happen. And they really, really enjoy the new AI feature that outlines their phone calls and then gives them next actions. They like the smart lists. It makes it really easy for them to know who to call, who to text. And trying to think what else. I mean, they also really enjoy that everything is just in one place. You know, if people are checking their home value, or if people are looking for the third time at that property on Real Scout, then they have that all in one place. And it's just it's so much easier to keep track of what's been said, when it's been said, notes that maybe another agent has left, things like that. Yeah, I mean, our database has tens of thousands of people in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So we have leads that are converting just now that came into our world 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really useful to have that inline information for them to work with.
Yeah, and that's across the board with any business. Like for us, we had someone who came back and they didn't even know they were in our system since 2020. And they said, "Oh, okay, I didn't realize. Yeah, I just kept seeing you around." And so, yeah, you've been in our CRM and we've been nurturing you since 2020. And they signed up with us. So that's just
Yeah,
across the board. You need to nurture people long term. The money's
yeah.
in the follow up. Do you have any sort of expectations for your agents to use Follow Up Boss in order to continue receiving company leads?
Um, yeah, I mean, that's one of our minimum standards, is that everything happens in Follow Up Boss. If you accidentally make a phone call using your own line, then you're to go in and log that phone call and put notes into Follow Up Boss. And, you know, they see the merit. You know, I have them fill out an agent self evaluation each week. And so they go in and they see like how many calls, how many emails, how many texts have they made, how many leads do they have in their names, like are they staged properly, and they can see the merits of really understanding what's in there and what it means for their conversions. Because at the end of the day, if we don't know our numbers and we don't know our conversions, then there's setting a goal of X units or X volume is like meaningless until you're able to define those things. And so empowering them by teaching them how to define those things on their own is huge. I think it makes them feel much more in control of their income and their success.
And that self-evaluation that they do, is it on some sort of spreadsheet, or you're just telling them look in Follow Boss and look at these specific reporting numbers in Follow?
Oh, you know what? A jot form. Jot form's another one of those things in my tech stack, and they get a reminder every week via email to fill out their jot form. And it takes about 15 minutes, and it's everything from like mindset to database evaluation to, you know, whether or not you feel like your values fit with the team values this week and things like that. So it's a holistic approach.
That's really neat. I haven't heard that before, of having the agent do the evaluation instead of having like a sales manager do it for them.
Yeah, yeah, they do it themselves, and then I get a copy. So, you know, I'll answer via email, or I'll call an agent if I feel like, you know, there's something that needs to be discussed, you know, face to face or whatever, or via phone or via Zoom. And then, you know, they also bring teachable moments to the team meeting from that. So, you know, I'm not just asking like, how many do you have under contract and how many customers did you convert to clients? It's like, what lead sources are they? And what were some teachable moments? Like, how long did you nurture this person? And what were some of the things that you said? And, you know, how was the process with, you know, were you able to keep them under contract, or did they fall out and you had to go under contract again on another property? And so they're able to like really bring some collaborative information to team meeting, and they're teaching each other by paying more attention to those things themselves.
And what sorts of results have you seen with the automations and the setup as a whole? Whether it's like you're seeing leads respond to the drip campaigns, or just the agents have a clarity of exactly what they should do in Follow Up Boss. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, you know, we have this pond system set up so that the agents can see everybody that's in the pond, and the ISA can see everybody that's in the pond. And so you'll see when people reply to an email, you know, you'll see when people reply to a text, you'll see when people reply to Raya. That's another one, sorry, that I should have brought up. And it just makes it way easier to be able to see those things in the left-hand inbox and boom, 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 get to them as soon as possible. Um,
Is
and then
that a
as
team
far as,
inbox?
hmm?
Is that a team inbox?
Yeah, we like I have, a Riot inbox, I have a Zillow inbox, I have, a general lead inbox, we have a sign call inbox, we have lots of different inboxes. And so, we know exactly where leads are coming from, and anybody can hop in at any time when Raya's talking to somebody, which can be really useful. Oh, and then Real Scout, like because we've integrated Real Scout, you can see when people are sending messages directly on Real Scout right in the inbox. So it's become really streamlined for people. Um, and then with the pawns, being able to to sort them by like last visit to the website, number of property views, number of favorites, like things like that. It's just it's hard to go wrong. Like it really makes it so much easier to target, the leads that are most likely to convert at any given time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, normally I ask a different question at the end, but you've already given so much value. So I'm going to ask a different question. As we wrap up the conversation, I wanted to ask if you would ever be open to sharing a little bit about that job form that you have agents to fill out in like a different session.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. And how we've developed our team app through Jotform, I would be happy to share that. That's like a really streamlined way that we support our agents with like marketing requests, paperwork requests, offer requests, the self-accountability, business goal setting, like all of it. We got an app for it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. An app through Jotform. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Yeah, you can create one in there. It's really neat.
Oh, I
Yep.
didn't know that. Learn something new every day. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jessica, so much for your
Yeah.
time. I really appreciate you sharing all that. That you just poured so much value into this video. That was super helpful of you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry it took so long for us to get together.
No, not at all. Thanks, Jessica.